Welcome, welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do here to share this. Okay, I'm going to put this in as well. Okay, and I'm going to find the sidebar. Okay, let's go from there. Okay. So we were doing right. Here we go. Umisham Ba'era. Literally, it sounds like they're on their journeys, and they went from there to Ba'er. Okay. He Haba'er, but this doesn't sound now like a place because it says He Haba'er Asher Amar Hashem LaMoshe. That is the well which Hashem had said to Moses, Esof et ha'am, gather the people, ve'etna lahem mayim, and I will give them water. Okay. So here's Rashi. Umisham Be'er, and from there to Be'er. Misham ba eshed ha-eshed el ha-ba'er, right? So this, we said that, if I'm not mistaken, did we say that eshed has to do with the pouring out, right? This pouring out came to this well. Ketzad, okay. Ketzad Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? This is, okay, sorry. Ketzad, comma. How so? In other words, what pouring are we talking about? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, Mi modea livanai, who is going to tell my children, Hanisim halalu, these miracles that took place? And of course, we're referring to the fact that the Amorites had wanted to destroy the Jewish people when they were passing through, and that they had in fact, the mountains, they'd hidden the mountains, and the mountains had actually moved together and destroyed them. And then their bodies and the dung, the blood had all poured out. And this is what the well was springing forth. Okay. Hamashal Omer, there's a proverb that goes, Natata pat latinok, if you give bread to a child, to a very young child or a baby, hodia leimor, tell his mother. And the idea, this is from Shabbat, page 10, where they're talking about if you give someone a gift, should you let them know about it? And the idea here is that it's important to let a person know that they got a gift. And here, the fact that if you gave some bread to this baby, the mother also benefits because she doesn't have to feed the baby now this food. And so you should let the mother know as well. Of course, I think there are other reasons why you'd want to let the mother know about this. Okay. So in other words, God was saying, they need to know, these Israelites need to know the miracles that just took place on their behalf, right? La'achar she'avru, okay, so after they passed through this wadi, chazru ha'arim limkomam. So the hills returned, the mountains returned to their former place. V'ha'ba'er yarda letoch ha'nachal, and this well went down into this river. V'he'elta misham, and it brought up from there, from this river or this wadi, dam haharugim, the blood of those who were slain. Uzruot ve'evarim, and this is body, in other words, ro'ah is like the arm, and evarim, parts, umolichtam savim hamachaneh, and brought them all around the encampment. V'Yisrael ra'u, and the Israelites saw v'amru shira, and they said a song. They sang this song. Now, Again, this is one of those things that on a superficial level, at least, I find difficult, right? I find this a difficult thing, because it's, this black and white and us against them and good guys versus bad guys, as simply on that simple level, just doesn't take into account the complexity of human life and human personality, and above all, the fact that one of our founding beliefs is that every human soul is created in the divine image. So the question is, what's the real message that's being given here, right? And I think it has more to do with the recognition, the need to recognize the miracles that take place on our behalf. I think to me, that's the essential message there. And you know that I tend to interpret enemies as the enemies inside ourselves. And the ability to overcome these particular qualities that are inside ourselves that give drama to life, and yet at the same time can actually destroy us as well, and the ability to overcome those things and to understand to what degree we're assisted by the divine in accomplishing that. And so it's phrased in this particular literary manner, and that's one thought. Another thought is that if we're talking about harsh judgment and high standards, etc., those standards apply to the Jewish people as well. So, because later on, in fact, in the next Parsha of Balak, we're going to read about the incredible ingratitude on the part of the Jewish people and how the Jewish men went whoring after the Moabites and the Midianites, etc. And many of them were slain. And of course, we just read about how they were griping about the manna. Again, the idea of ingratitude is being a very, very obnoxious quality that we really need to work hard at overcoming. So, do we, of course, have people who want to, in fact, destroy us? Are there, in fact, physical enemies that we face? Yes, there are. But at the same time, I think there's a sense that if we are worthy, if we try to act in a worthy way, we can achieve divine protection. And if we're not, we're going to make ourselves vulnerable. And again, this is a somewhat of a black and white position, and one has to be careful. And in fact, of course, we always have also Isaiah's position, which sees us as, which tries to explain the fact that as servants of God and as trying to represent the divine presence, there are going to be people who are going to try to overcome us and try to hurt us. So that the reason isn't because we're not righteous enough, but the answer is the fact that there is part of the drama is the degree to which human beings want to deny and absolutely overcome the idea that they're accountable, that people are accountable for what they do. So this is of course, stuff that we have to try and puzzle through and try to understand. But I will, if there are any comments, of course, please raise your hand. I'll try and recognize you. Otherwise, I will proceed. Okay, so Az Yashir. So here we go. Right. Let's go here. Okay. Make sure we've got the place. Right. Az Yashim Yisrael. So at this point, the Israelites burst into song, Et HaShirah Hazot, this particular song. So remember, there was the song at the Red Sea, at the miracle of the Red Sea, and now we have this miracle here. And by the way, what's interesting is that there's some similarities, right? There really are in themes, because we're talking about passing through a narrow place. We're talking about enemies wanting to destroy them as they pass through this place. and God destroying those enemies. I mean, there's a lot of similarity between the crossing of the Red Sea and this particular episode. And of course, we also have this song of triumph that takes place at the end of it. But the triumph isn't personal triumph. The triumph is the idea that God has finally overcome God's enemies. So, anyway, here goes. Ali Ba'er, rise up, O well, Enula, answer to her, or answer it. Let's take a look. Ali Ba'er, come up, O well, mitoch hanachal, from the midst of this wadi, ve'eli ma she'at ma'ala, or ma'aleh, and bring up what you are bringing up. Umin ein sheba'er hudia lahem. So how do we know that in fact the well was what was informing them about this? Shne'emar, because after this it says umisham ba'era, and afterwards it says, and from there to the well. So here we go in Bamidbar Rabbah. V'chi misham haita, but wait a second. In other words, did the well spring up at that particular point? V'halo mitchilat arba'im shana haita imahem. But the truth was, this well was with them from the very beginning of those 40 years. Ella, so how do we explain this? Ella sheyarda lefarsem et hanisim. But here in this case, this well went down to let them know, right? To make well known the miracles. And we have in Shabbat, Tractate Shabbat, page 35, Az Yashir Yisrael at Ashira Hazot. Then, okay, so interpreting this particular phrase, right? At that point, the Israelites sang this song, right? Ne'emara besof arba'im. That this was said at the end. They're coming to the end, right, of the 40 years wandering there. As you know, at this particular point, they're coming very close to the land of Canaan and ready to enter the land of Canaan. But the well was actually given to them at the beginning of the 40 years. Lichtov kan. So what did Scripture see to write this here? Ela ha'inyan hazeh. But this particular situation, is nidrash lamala. So I believe it's saying that this particular situation of what the well was doing is based on what we just read, right? Hemenu above it. In other words, this az yashir refers not that the well itself was given to them at this moment, but what the well provided them at this moment and how the well informed them of the miracle that had been performed on their behalf. And for a moment, I'm also reflecting, saying, well, how would you feel if you just experienced this particular situation with the well? Let's think about that. I mean, for one, yes, maybe a great sense of relief, but I think also a sense, at least for myself, I don't think I'd be crowing, okay? In fact, if anything, it would feel like I had a greater responsibility to appreciate what had happened and not to be crowing or singing personal songs of victory, but to be thankful to God for sparing me and for allowing me to pass through in safety, given the fact that these people would have destroyed me. So I think in trying to imagine how we would feel ourselves if this happened. So the air, going back to the text itself, the air chafrua sarim, the well which the princes dug, karuha, the same idea, right? That they dug it, nidivei ha'am, the great ones of the people, right? The elect of the people, something like that. In other words, talking about special people. Bimichokek, with the lawgiver, So the chok, remember the word chok means a decree or a law, right? The lawgiver, b'mishan otam, with their staffs. I mean, the Hebrew here, the syntax is absolutely, difficult and total. This is the nature of poetic Hebrew in Scripture. Omimidbar, and from the wilderness, right? And I think this is not the right, yeah. So we have to go to the other. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see if this will do it. I think I have it. Right, let's see here. I believe. Hmm. Oh, okay. Yep. Matana. Matana. This is the page I had to copy, right? Matana. You can see how nice that is. Okay. So Be'er Chafruha, the well that was dug, right? Or they dug it. Zot hi haba'er, that is to say, this is the well. Asher Chafrua Sarim, which the princes, the elect of the people, dug. Moshe v'Aharon. Who were these elected? They were Moses and Aaron. Be'mishan notam, with their staffs, and a mishanet is something that you lean on, right? And it's b'mateh, with the rod, with the staff. Or Mimi Bar. And now, as you can see, the sentence sort of just went on in this very strange kind of way, sort of in a way, sort of changed the mood of it or the sense of it, right? And from Midbar, Matana, right? So here we go. So there's a play on words here, right? Let's see. Umi Midbar, right? And from this wilderness, matana nitna lahem. So the word matana, pronounced with the accent under the ta, is a gift. So they from the wilderness, this was given to them as a gift. That's how we have to understand it. Umi matana nachaliel, and from matana to nachaliel, umi nachaliel bamot, and from nachaliel bamot. Again, this is sounding like physical journeys, okay?
Rabbi, are you intentionally skipping some Rashi?
No, did I miss some Rashi?
Well,
So
the line 18 had three Rashi.
that's all I've got here on my line.
You have two,
I've got Be'er Chafruha. That's what I've got it on 18.
right?
Right? And I mentioned this is I mentioned this, the well that Moses and Aaron had dug. Mishanotam b'mateh, he says, explains Mishanotam is their staffs, that's what it means. Umimidbar matana, that was the next page right here.
Okay. So
Not
mine has, I guess it's a parenthetical note
okay, go ahead, please
that
share it.
on Aaron and Moses' staff,
Yes.
upon which the explicit name was engraved.
Okay. So that was parenthetical. Okay. Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure what that is adding here to the Rashi, but it's not in the Hebrew here. Okay.
It says,
So,
see Targum Yonatan,
aha.
Exodus 4:20.
Hmm. So the Targum that we have here, of course, is Targum Onkelos. So I believe Targum Yonatan has more midrashim in it than Onkelos.
Oh,
Onkelos is a
and
more direct translation. Yeah.
it also says Regio edition.
Okay. Well, apparently your husband has had something to do with this, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. Again, though, what is the significance of the comment that they're adding here? That's what I'd want to know. I mean, yes, okay, so the holy name was engraved in the staff. I mean, one can certainly understand it. Is it to try and tell you that, the staff itself wasn't intrinsically, holy, but that the fact that, to understand the degree to which God had played a part directly in these particular miracles. That would be the best I could do with it at this point. Okay, so again, what's interesting here is this is sounding simply like a recitation of names where the Israelites had journeyed. But it's turning out, in fact, that this is like written in code and that it really, and we'll take a look and we're trying to decipher this code. So here we have Mimatana Nachaliel, from Matana Nachaliel. And he says here, Rashi Targumor, we need to look at the Targum right here to see how to understand this statement and from Natana Nachaliel. Now, again, Matana, we understand, is a gift, right? We can understand it means a gift. Nachaliel means like the inheritance of God, right? And from Nachaliel, Bamot means high places. So let's take a look and see. Umi de, okay.
Interesting, because mine translates not from God, but streams.
Yes. Well, that could be a Nachal. Okay. But let's take a look. Okay. Let's take a look at how the Onkelos translates this. It's interesting, Lauren. And of course, we're just sort of scratching the surface of Parshanut, of how to interpret these particular passages. But it is interesting the distinctions that are being made here. But partially because this is so opaque, it's so challenging. So I'm going to try and work with the Onkelos here. Umi de Yeitya hivat lahon, and after he gave it to them, right? Nachata imahon lenachalaya. So I believe it means he guided them to their inheritance. Uminachalaya salka imahon. So this is all talking about God's presence with the Israelites, right? Salka imahon leramata. And this is that he went up with them on a high place. Okay. So let's take a look at what we've got here now. Umi banot Hagai, right? He says, and from the Bama, the high place of the valley, Asher Bistemo of, which is in the field of Moab, Rosh HaPisgah, the head of the Pisgah. And let's see if we can go on here to the next page. V'nishkefa al pnei Hashimon, and it looked out this on the top of Pisgah. It looked out on the surface of the Yishimon. Yishimon usually is like a wilderness of the wilderness. Okay, so let's go back here and take a look at what he's saying here. Okay, Ume Bamot Hagai Asher Bistemu Av, and from the heights of the valley which are in the field of Moab, Kisham Mate Moshe, right? Because it's here where Moses dies. Vasham Batla Habaer. Okay, so we're talking now. This is, I think, shedding a little more light that we're now talking. This is all referring to this portable well, right? Many of you already know about the legend, you might say, for want of a better name, of Miriam's well, which was this portable well. But apparently, from this point, the well ended. Davar acher. So now another interpretation of what we just read. Karuha Nidivei Ha'am, the elect of the people, dug it out. Kol Nasi v'Nasi, each and every prince, Keshahayu Chonim, when they would encamp, Notel Maklo, he would take his stick, his rod, Umoshech el Etzel Daglo, and he would draw it near his standard, Umachanehu, and his encampment, Umeha Be'er, and the waters of this well, Nimshachin derech oto siman. They would flow in this particular way, based on this sign that this prince had made. Uva'in lifnei chaniyat kol shevet v'shevet. So it would the water would sort of then spill into sort of little rivulets in front of each and every tribe. B'mechokek, right? We said this is the lawgiver. Al pi Moshe, right? This he's called a mechokek, shenikra mechokek, right? Who's called a giver, excuse me, Shene'emar, as it states in Deuteronomy 33, Ki sham chelkat mechokek safun, right? For there the allotment or the portion of the lawgiver is hidden. And I believe this is, of course, talking about Moses's grave, right? Velama lo niskar Moshe b'shira zo. And why is Moses not referenced directly in this particular song? Why is he referred to as a mechokek and we don't say explicitly Moshe? Lefi shilaka al yedei habe'er. Because remember, he himself was punished by means of this or through this well. V'kevan shelo niskar shmo shel Moshe, and because Moses' name isn't mentioned, lo niskar shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In that case, God's name is also not mentioned. Mashal lemelech, there's a parable of a king. Shayu mizamnim oto lesuda. They would invite him, they invited this king to a feast, to a banquet. Amar, and he said to them, Im ohavi sham, if the one who loves me is there, in other words, he's talking about a faithful servant, right? Ani sham, I will be there. Ve'im lo eini holech. But if you're not inviting my faithful servant, right, this person who loves me and behaves in a way that shows love towards me, I'm not going to go myself. I think actually, as I reflect on that, that is really very, very beautiful and actually extremely profound in the implications of this. Rosh HaPisgah, the top of the Pisgah. Let's make sure I still got, yeah, okay, got to go back here. Ketargumo Reish Ramata. So he says, as the Targum translates it, the head of the high place. Pisgah, this word Pisgah, Lashon Gova, it has the meaning of a high, something that is very high. V'chein, and likewise in Psalm 48, Pasku Armenoteha, right? So it says, raise up its palaces. Hagbihu Armenoteha, right? Raise up, make high its palaces. Menishkafa, that is to look out upon. Ota Hapiska, this particular high, this mountaintop, right? Looked out al pnei hamakom sheshmo Yeshimun, that it looks out over a place that is termed Yeshimun, Bahulashon Midbar, and this has the word Yeshimun has the meaning of a Midbar, a wilderness, Shehi Shamem, because this word Yeshimun is based on a root Shamem, which means barren, right? Not without plants, things like that. Davar acher, another interpretation. V'nishkafa haba'er al pnei hayeshimon. So it says that we're saying now that this be'er, this well, right, looked out on the surface of the Yeshimon. She, let's see, I'm trying to think. Shenigma biyama shel. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, shenignaza bimay shel biyama shel tveria. He says this well is hidden in the waters of Tiberias. For ha'omed al Yeshimon, and someone who stands on the Yeshimon, mi beit mabit veroeh, he can look out and see kemin kavra. He sees a sort of a sieve, right? Bayam in the this lake of Tiberias. Vehi habe'er, and that in fact is the be'er. That is in fact the well. Kach darash Rabbi Tanchuma. He says that's actually found in the Midrash Tanchuma. This particular theory. And this is where we will stop today.
And in mine, when it says Tiberius, it has in parentheses Kinneret.
Yes, that is another name. It's known as the Kinneret because it looks like a harp. The shape of the lake is like a harp, and that's a Kinneret, right? Or
Yeah.
Gnatar is another word for it in rabbinic Hebrew. So, okay, and we'll take this up here and gonna move this here so we know where we are. So, and I'm going to stop the share. Okay. Any thoughts before we move on? Any questions?
Well, I'm confused.
Oh, well, then clearly you're paying attention.
Yeah, there's so many theories. A long time ago, Abraham and Isaac dug wells. They dug their wells too. But this time, I couldn't figure out whether the well was produced by God or how did they find out water? Did God say, this ground right here has water? Dig the well right there, you got water. Or how did they find out where the water was? They're in the desert, they're in the wilderness. Where did they find water? I mean, I'm
Right,
I'm walking in the wilderness. I say, is water right here, or
right.
is water right there? Uh, should I dig right
Uh,
here? Should I dig right there? I'm confused. I
Okay, so
mean,
that's a great question, Harlan. I think the point is this, that this well wasn't based necessarily on the actual geographic or geological considerations, but that the water was wherever God put it. In other words, that's really the issue going on here. And in fact, your question is a lovely question because it sort of brings out the idea of God being this, we talk about God being our light, but we're also talking about the well of being water, because water is something that sustains life, that without water, life would be unsustainable. And in a sense, it's talking about the miracle, you know, that God miraculously sustains. And I think that is the point for us to understand the degree to which God was sustaining the Israelites. So it wasn't that Moses and Aaron or whoever, were looking for some place where there was hidden water underneath in actual fact. Remember, this is a story. This is a story. And so basically it's saying that the well itself was the water as well, produced the water. Okay. And not to be concerned about geographic or geological issues as to where the water might be. Okay.
mm,
That's
okay.
real. That's the point of this particular idea of Miriam's well or the well. Although
Yeah, but when Miriam died, there was no more well.
I know the well, that's why Moses and Aaron wound up looking for this well. So maybe this was a different well. Yes, I was thinking about that too. So are they referring, but then Rashi said this was with them at the beginning of 40 years. So, in terms of trying to harmonize these stories, to say that when Miriam died, the well stopped, okay, and that Moses and Aaron got it to start again, but they paid for it very dearly. Okay.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's the way I would want to understand what's going on here. And I think maybe with this, I will stop the recording.